Okay, so I apologize for the delay. Just had a hard time getting some time. So I just finished work. So ultimately, when we're talking about release of tension in joints, we want to remember that there's really not much, there's no muscles actually in the fingers, or there's some in the palm of the hand here, but a lot of these muscles, right, that affect the fingers, they all come from up here, right? And so we can put on your, to heat up, you got the mitts, and you can put on some elastogel or any kind of heat to warm up all through here. And then what you could do is you can take a tennis ball or even just a Q-tip, a cue ball, or a something smooth like a lacrosse ball, and gently put that ball here and release tension. So here, right, we're talking about extensors. So this is everything that extends, both the wrist, right, and the fingers, all come from this point. And everything that flexes, right, they all come from this point. So you're gonna take a ball and you're gonna just kind of smooth in. I'm sorry I don't have one. You can also use kind of here. I always recommend not using your fingers, one, because it puts a lot of pressure on your fingers, and this is a lot bigger muscle, and these little joints are not gonna be able to handle it. So the ball is the best, but in a pinch, you can always use your forearm to come through here and relieve tension. Now, relieving tension here, right, will translate to relieving tension in your fingers, because all of these muscles, again, the reason why there's a bunch of tendons that go down almost like puppet strings, and if these are loose and relieved, all of those tendons going down into here, you're not going to get that pulling. So if these are stiff and tight, you're going to get a lot of pulling, and ultimately it's going to put pressure on your fingers and a little bit more in the hands and some of the joints through here. So you can definitely just kind of, after you warmed everything up, hit here, go on the inside, get through here. Actually, the entire forearm, where if there's muscle, you can release a little bit of tension with that ball. You would obviously do the same thing on this side. So that's the start. And we also want to, every single joint has a synovial capsule, a joint capsule, and it releases synovial fluid. It's essentially the body's car oil. So anytime you move, it manipulates, and that's any joint, any big joint, any small joint. Anytime you move, it manipulates the capsule and releases a little bit of synovial fluid to bathe the joint, to protect the joint in between. So, when you have osteoarthritis, it tends to eat away at the cartilage, or even rheumatoid arthritis. It eats away at the cartilage on the inside. So, some people will have you do these big, heavy stretches, and you can do them to an extent. But what I would suggest is actually coming through here, and you're gonna just kind of relax this. You're not even gonna really move it, and you're gonna kind of cradle your finger. And first you're gonna kind of do a little bit of circular motions here, and you're also gonna give it a little bit of a tug. So as you come through here, this is moving a little bit, but you're basically you're activating your synovial fluid joints and kind of bathing that joint. And you can do the same thing here. And especially after you have the mitts where you have the heat, you're gonna have a lot of movement here. The muscles are gonna be very relaxed. Heat is a vasodilator. So you'll be able to kind of get through here. Ultimately, you can probably get all of these joints just by kind of holding here. Because as I'm kind of going like this, right, on the inside, I'm gently moving a little bit here. It's pushing against my palm. So I'm pretty much getting everything. And you can do the same thing on the other side. Kind of come through here. Give it a little bit of a pull, a little bit of a tug. Of course, after you heat both of them, you should be able to get a little bit of a grip in here. It depends on how bad your arthritis is. If it's hard to get a grip, then maybe you want to do some other kind of, you want to cradle it a little bit so you're not gripping as much. Maybe that's going to be the better option if you can't grip. But if you can, definitely want to kind of just, put your entire finger over that area and then go through everything, okay? All right. So I also mentioned, and so then, of course, you want to open and kind of close them. You know, any kind of movement coming in this area, especially once you kind of get loose, you know, some of these movements, sometimes people will go like this, sometimes I'll have people kind of fold open, you know, that kind of normal stuff. Moving the wrists, again, getting blood in that area, elbows, shoulders. Now, we get up to the shoulders, strength back here is definitely going to play a role. Strength in the back of the neck and in your traps, in the rhomboids back here, are going to play a role in posture, right? So you strengthen back here, everything kind of pulls back. So your arms and your shoulders aren't pinched forward and putting pressure coming down here, right? We want to always kind of come up. I know I do this with slouching, where somebody says sit proper, and it's actually uncomfortable to sit like this. That's a lot of times because the back of the neck and the shoulder blades and the muscles in between those shoulder blades, the rhomboids, talking about mid traps, are weak. And so by squeezing your scapula together, you know, by squeezing the scapula together, you're going to help strengthen the muscle, the rhomboid muscle between the spine and the shoulder blades, and help kind of bring those shoulder blades back on the, you know, to the back, paste those shoulder blades onto the back. And that's why, so when you sit upright, I can't find my words there, when you sit upright, it's not going to be as uncomfortable. We also want to pay attention to some of this neck extensors. Sorry, I worked all day, so I'm losing my words here. So here, I call these kind of the don't kiss me's. As you're here, you're going to just directly come back. So I don't know if I'm getting that. Okay, looks like. So as you're here, you're going almost back. It's almost like a chin tuck, except you're not going down and you're not going up. You can use this pointer finger here to keep that alignment of the nose. And so you know if you're going up and away from the finger or down and away from the finger, you're not getting that neck extensor. So you're here, coming directly back, directly back. Again, strengthening this area. A lot of times this is long and weak. We want to make it strong and stable to help kind of peel back there, or to help kind of sit upright. We also want to do a little bit of stretching through here. Again, if this is long and weak, this is going to be tight and short. And all of this plays a role on arm health, right? Because if we're kind of folded back through this way throughout the day, you're going to be putting a lot of pressure through the arms. And so I would recommend going into a door jam, turning, and getting a good stretch through here. You can do it with the arm straight, you can do it with the arm bent. But those up here, you know, I definitely think they're important, but really what's going to help relieve a lot of tension are some of the things that I originally mentioned. Releasing a lot of tension through here. Again, if this is loose, if this is, you know, not stiff, if there's not a lot of knots in here, it's not going to be pulling on all of those tendons that run all the way through here and manipulate the fingers. And so you're going to have a lot less tension bone to bone if you're releasing a lot of tension up here. And then again, you know, really going through here and hitting all those muscles, all those joints I should say, because it's going to relieve and release a lot of synovial fluid. So, you know, maybe 1 to 2 minutes through here, kind of stop it if you get any tender points. Maybe you want to stop and do some mini rolls in those tender points. Same thing on both sides, maybe, you know, 1 to 2 minutes on each side. And then you're going to come here and maybe spend about, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds on each one. And these are just arbitrary times. You can go until you feel comfortable, you know, just when you feel that good relief. And then really kind of just going through all of the joints, you know, fingers from that first crease all the way down. And you want to move, with all of this, you want to move in your range of motion should be relatively comfortable. You don't want to go too much into discomfort, too much into pain, because that's really going to kind of stress the muscles in a way that they, you know, won't respond well. You know, I'm kind of mixing my words here. I want all these movements to be relatively comfortable. You don't want to really stress yourself out. So if you're here and you come down and really squeezing is uncomfortable, then just go a little less, you know. So you'll come and you'll go, and if it starts to feel uncomfortable there, I want you to knock on the door, of discomfort, but don't go too much into it, okay? All right. kind of yammering a little bit in this last minute or so, but hopefully that kind of stuff is helpful, and sorry for the delay on this video, but it's just been a little bit busy. I couldn't find the time. I wish you very well. Happy playing, my friend. If you have any questions, definitely shoot me an email, and I can answer them as they come up.